Welcome to the Floor Academy podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Hedin, owner of Illustrious Hardwoods in Phoenix, Arizona. I have got part 2 of what's going to be a multi-part series on Are Trade Organizations Outdated? With me today, I've got Ken Ballin, Don Perkins, and Derek Swegle to fill in my middle age group range of 31 to 50-year-olds. And, you know, before we dive into this topic, I want to let you know Floor Academy is here to help you go from owning a job to running a business to owning an asset. I want to help you move forward, and we tackle the actual business side of things, get you diving into the numbers, into the books, understanding what's going on so you can move your business forward. Hand skills are great. They're going to help you do that as well. It's what happens behind the desk that can really help push the business forward. And I want to help you do that with episodes every week. Make sure you put in those earbuds and learn while you earn. That being said, let's jump into it with these gentlemen, and we will get some quick intros. Don, let's start with you and just kind of get a quick background of who you are and what you do.
My name is Don Perkins. I own DFP LLC in Torrington, Connecticut. I've been working with my dad since I was 6, full-time for the last 18, 19 years. I run my own company. We specialize mostly in mostly carpet, residential higher end products, and doing specialty commercial floors.
Okay, and you're doing carpet and hardwood and laminate, but mostly carpet and protect all these days, I think, or carpet.
Yeah, protect all the eco grip, and carpet is pretty much our main main areas right now.
Okay.
Pretty much we install everything except it's easier to say except than what we do, except ceramic, epoxy, sand and refinish, and concrete polishing. So pretty much everything else.
And proud member of CFI.
Yep.
Okay.
CFI and NFIC.
NFIC. There you go. All right. Derek, let's move on down to you.
I'm Derek Swegle. I own Habitat Hardwood Floors in Panama City Beach, Florida. Been doing the hardwood, pretty much just specialize in hardwood flooring, insulation, sand and refinish. I'd say of mostly sand and refinish is kind of our area of expertise. We do a lot of installs, but out here in this market, we have a lot of sand and refinish. Been doing it probably pushing on the 20-year range with my brother, originally from Kansas City. We relocated to Florida 3 years ago and started our company pretty much from scratch there, and also a member of the NWFA, and not a longtime member of the NWFA. Pretty much just when I started my company on my own.
Okay. And should we let Ken introduce himself? I mean, jeez. this guy over here. No, go ahead, bud.
Yeah, I'm Ken Ballin. I own Skyro Floors out of Ocean County, New Jersey. I set tile and lay hard surface flooring, and I am CTI 1392 and CFI 13604.
And a member of NTCA.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So, are trade organizations outdated? Like, if I start with that question, let's go back through that same thing, and you guys tell me if that's the right question to ask, and how that makes you feel, or where we kind of need, like, I want to hear your ideas on where this conversation should kind of go. So I have my own ideas, but I want to, we'll start there. So Don, are trade organizations outdated?
I don't think they're outdated. I think they need to reevaluate what their impact and what their goals and involvement for the newer generations are. I don't think outdated is the right right direction.
Okay, I can agree with that. Derek?
I don't think so. Given, like I said, I've only been affiliated with the NWFA and haven't been that long, really. For me, it was a big asset to start my company off. I do know a lot of contractors that are very hesitant to be a part of a trade organization. I don't think they necessarily see the value right up front. So it's a little bit tough for them, especially right now in this market. Everybody's busy, and a lot of contractors, business owners, immediately look at whatever they're investing their time and money into, whether it's going to be profitable at the moment or not, or how soon it will be profitable. So I don't think it's outdated either at all. I honestly, for me, being so new into it, I think it's an asset for me. But I do see that it is a little difficult for some people to see that, especially right off the bat.
Okay. And Ken?
I think, well, and you know my stance is typically any sort of industry involvement is a good thing. I don't know that the organizations are outdated. I don't think the concept is outdated. I think maybe it's time for some evolution and maybe some adjustments. But any sort of industry involvement, whether it's a trade organization, certification, training, anything like that, is good for everyone.
So I want to go to the next question that I think would be relevant. Okay, so have any of you actively participated? Have you worked to get onto committees? Do you go and help out at trainings? What has your effort to be involved and try and make a difference in getting the organizations to go in a direction that you would like to see them go? Like, what have you done to maybe do that? So once again, I'll start at Don and then we'll work our way through.
So I've done, I've started working to be a trainer with NFIC. I've done a couple of trainings with them, helping out, just being there, assisting, and just an extra set of hands is on the training side of it. I've tried to do that with CFI. Unfortunately, it's come down to basically bad timing, so I haven't been able to get into any of those. Also, moving forward in my own, getting my own certifications, it's just bad timing. When the trainings are, there's just not the time to step away. And as much as I advocate going to do the trainings and bettering yourself, sometimes there's not the money, sometimes there's not the people to keep the jobs going, and sometimes there's just too much work to be able to step away from to do it. With the NFIC, I just kind of fell into that one. With the CFI, it's a little more difficult to get into being able to do it, but they are encouraging people to step up and get more involved and learn and become trainers, because most of the trainers are, older. They're in their, 50s, 60s. Some of them are even older than that, looking at the end of their career, and they're not looking to do the traveling and be out on the road all the time doing these trainings. So it's tricky. It's hard to get into it, but it's worth getting there to do that stuff.
Okay. Derek?
No, I've only participated in just basically so far getting certifications. About halfway through all the certifications that I want to get. I have an end goal of what I kind of want to do. But I have done quite a bit of the certification training programs over the last year, and I've talked to several people at the NWFA about assisting with instructor position and helping out on training classes, and they've been welcoming with wide arms. Say absolutely. And honestly, part of the reasons I did the advanced installation class back in October, and it was such a cool class. I feel like I didn't learn enough. I feel like there was a lot of hands-on stuff which guys want to do, but I mentioned to Brett Miller, I said, hey, I'd love to come back just to help out, just so I can learn more. I'll be a helping hand, however. And they're all great. They're like, Derek, we would love you to participate. But like Don said, it is one of those things where being a business owner, being a contractor, finding the time to dedicate, to volunteer your time or go out there to do it, when everybody's so busy right now. That will be a challenge for sure, but it's definitely a goal and something I'd love to do. Just because I love helping people out. And I do agree. I think it's time for younger faces to be out there helping out.
Okay. It's funny you mentioned wanting to go back to the advanced class. There was just a post that Ken was participating in with Lenny Hall, and he was like, go to the advanced class twice because it's never the same thing and you'll definitely learn something.
I remember that. Absolutely. And that's what I was thinking the same. Yeah, I'm going to do it again.
So that's funny.
This time I would like to help out maybe and not pay for it. But
Yeah. No, I think it's, there's some good points in there, right? That you can always learn helping out, giving back to the community, but then also being able to, younger faces. I definitely look. I love all the guys that are out there teaching and training right now. They're brilliant. They really are. But it's hard for a 20-year-old kid coming into the industry to want to connect with a guy that's 50 or 60 years old. I think so.
Yeah, I mean, Lenny Hall looks like he's like 40, but he is like, I think he's pushing like 100 years old or something. But he's kind of a freak there. He doesn't look that.
Ouch. Tune in for part 3 when I let Lenny know what Derek's saying about him. Oh man! All right, Ken, what you got for me? What's the participation level kind of look like?
So I mean, I've gone through. I've done my CTI. I've done the CFI training. I think we've really seen, especially in the past few years with the pandemic, things kind of came to a halt. And there wasn't a real, there was a level of interest before that, and then everything just kind of came to this stop. Like I remember taking my CTI and then immediately expressing interest to CTEP about becoming not an administrator, the evaluator.
Yes.
And so I even went to a few more tests to train to evaluate. And then it kind of fell off with COVID. So, along with the calendar dropping off, so did communication. So there was no follow-up. There was no, and things have kind of changed and evolved and everything like that. But, we brought, I had gone to CFI with not a master class for tile, but something like a next level, let's call it like a craftsman something or other. And I kind of felt like I got blown off. And so and I know that, there's a chain of command and a process and everything like that. But I just feel like when you have somebody expressing an interest, you need to really kind of bring them in. You can't say no to somebody that wants to get involved. And I think, like I said, COVID played a big part in everybody kind of taking a step back. But I've expressed interest, I've expressed opinions, and it is what it is. Take me or leave me, and I'll continue down the path.
Yes, there's many ways to actively participate in the industry. I mean, look, I get to run my mouth every week, and people continually tune in, and more people continually tune in. So something's happening, right? But there's not necessarily backing from all the industry organizations saying, "Hey, look, we really want to participate in this." I just keep doing it because it's doing something. I know it's helping, and that's what matters. So you all kind of bring up points to where my next question is, I don't think it's said out loud a lot, and I'll be the one to say it. It's okay. Old white guy syndrome is a thing. Look, it's a thing, and I think it does affect this industry. When you look at who's running some of the top tiered organizations around, who's running some of the top tiered manufacturers around, right? You look at a specific demographic and age range, and it all has something in common. So how much do you feel that affects the industry? Now, granted, okay, so I'm young. sadly, we're all the younger guys in this trade on an age average, because that next generation didn't come in, and we all know that we're all suffering from this installation crisis, right? There's not a lot of 18, 25-year-old kids doing this work. So when you're like mid 30s, 40 years old, like, you are kind of the young guy still. And you're able
I'm okay
to,
with that.
Yeah. I mean, at least, hey, I'm young, right? Even though I'm really not, I'm middle-aged now, but that's a different story. But essentially you get to come in and, like, I have this platform, I get to run my mouth, I can say things, and I want to do more good than harm, but it's, when you're young, you're rash, right? Like, you're quick. You don't have the patience, and you're going to say what you want to say. And then you might look back in 5 years and be like, oh man, I really screwed that up. Whereas the older people that have positions of authority right now generally will have more patience, have been there, done that, a little bit more knowledge, and they can step back, look at a situation, evaluate it, and make a more informed decision. Now, is that good or bad? Because maybe we're making decisions too slowly, and there's a second side of it. Along with like old white guy syndrome, is death by committee a thing that could hold these organizations back? So we'll switch it up. We'll start with you this time, Ken. Like, where are your thoughts kind of on what we're dealing with in that?
I think that it's very easy to point fingers and assign blame and kind of say, well, this is what they're doing wrong and that's what they're doing wrong. And we have such a tendency to critique things that we see that maybe we don't always use those same fingers to say, well, that's what they're doing right, and that's, a good thing. So it's kind of interesting for the dynamic that's been in place for so long. And you mentioned old white guy syndrome, which, I mean, that really, and it may be something that changes, regionally, but I mean, demographics are a real thing, and it could just be that, at that time when these people were coming up, that was the main demographic coming through, and, maybe if the center of the flooring world was in another spot in the country, that could be a different demographic. But I just, you're absolutely right. It's definitely a challenge.
Well, what about committees? Because I know a lot of the organizations, right? Like, there's a main group of people that get to run them, right? And there's very few paid people in these organizations. And it doesn't matter which one you look at, whether it's WFCA, CTI, NTCA, NWFA. Like, you start FCEF, CTEF, right? You look at any of them, okay? And I'm not FCICA problem. Look, there's too many. I don't even know them all right? And we'll throw NALFA out there too, because they do laminate certifications, or they used to. You can still get an inspector one, I think. But anyways, like, it's alphabet soup out there. There's 40, 50 plus within the flooring industry alone. But at the core of them, it's generally a very select few people that get a paid position, and everyone else kind of is volunteers out from there. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's, hey, we have an idea to do something. Okay, let's vote on it. Look, man, I'm on my HOA. And so there's 5 of us, and the 2 of us that live here versus the other 3 members that are homeowners, or they rent out their properties. So they own them, but they rent them out. Like, their opinions on the property are way different than the 2 of us that live here. And so, like, we'll fight back and forth about the direction that the community needs to go, or how funds should be spent, or what needs to happen. And we'll drive something into the ground for 5 months, whereas it should have been a 5-minute discussion and decision. So I can only imagine what these organizations are dealing with when someone's like, hey, I want to make a new class, or, hey, maybe we need to update the standards, or like whatever it's going to be. It's
like a necessary evil.
Yes, it's multifaceted, right? So, like, if old white guy syndrome is a thing, are they out of touch with what the young kids want and how they move forward. And then, now you present it to a committee, but the committee has to turn it down because they can't move and act fast. I don't know. So if you have anything on that, and then we'll kind of go through and let the other guys respond.
Well, I mean, I just said it's maybe a necessary evil is a little dramatic of a term, but things happen by design for a reason, and you can't. It's hard to say that something's wrong when you're not in a spot to make a change. But maybe the change that we make isn't through these trade organizations. Maybe there's a step in the evolution where we kind of let them do their thing and we kind of pursue our impact on the industry in other ways.
Okay, Derek, what you got for me?
I was kind of bouncing back to what Ken said a little bit earlier about an old demographic compared to what's going on now. Just thinking with the NWFA before, which I knew about the NWFA for years and years, and I worked with my older brother who was one of those contractors who's like, I don't need that. We don't need that certifications. That doesn't get us jobs. And I'll even admit, in my market, it's not a necessity at all. I think there's one other contractor within a 200-mile radius who's an NWFA member with any set of certifications, and there's plenty of work. But I do kind of look back at probably 15, 20 years ago or less. That's kind of how everybody networked that was in the hardwood flooring industry at all. In this industry is through the NWFA. That's how everybody kind of knew each other. Well, now you know everybody from social media. I mean, I meet contractors, talk to floor pros all over the United States and in other countries on a regular basis, just through social media, reaching out. So I feel like, yes, there's that need for evolution. A little bit like what Don brought out too is that times have changed drastically, a huge degree from, 15 years ago, and not just of what the organization represents or what it has to offer, but just in a whole circumference of different avenues. One thinking of mine was, and you're talking about committees and bringing people on, and NWFA they posted, I think, available positions on different committees within the last 6 months. But a lot of those prerequisites that were listed are, basically individuals that have been in the industry, owned businesses with multiple crews and done a lot of things. So, I mean, I'm sure it's a good qualification for a position on that committee. But also, I mean, there's a lot of guys these days that are just one-man crew, two-man crew. I mean, I think that taking that into consideration with anything you're pushing within the trade organization has to be on both levels. It can't be just focused at, large companies, because it doesn't work for everybody. If someone could do it, if I could do it and have multiple crews and have lots of people and keep my quality up, then yeah, but it's not feasible for a lot of people to do that. And I mean, sure, Ken might even agree too on this. And in some trades, it is more profitable to stay low, to stay small. I've talked to a few other contractors and some folks with the NWFA too about that. They have a lot of information out, but it seems like a lot of the stuff that we're getting from these organizations are pushed towards larger companies. And that's one thing that I think that could be part of that evolution too. If you do want to get more people involved and help more people be profitable and successful and utilizing the trade organization, that's something that definitely needs to come into consideration.
Like it. Don.
Yeah, the old man syndrome is a thing. It's there's no. I think a lot of the organizations were started with this idea: we're going to bring up the standards, we're going to create trainings, but they never thought about the next step of it. And one thing that I actually sat down with at dinner with one of the heads of one of the organizations at Surfaces last year, basically told them, like every professional organization I was involved with, and before I started in flooring and started getting involved with it, there was a clear path from being basic trained all the way up to being a trainer, this, and this, and then, you can get on these committees. And there's really nothing like that available for any of the organizations I've been involved in. Mm-hmm. And supposedly there is one on paper, but nobody knows where it is. Nobody knows what that path is. Mm-hmm. And so it's all kind of handed down word of mouth. So I think they kind of missed that next step to how you go from being trained and involved on the base level to how do you go, how do you advance? Mm-hmm. And so there's kind of the guys that have been doing it forever are like, well, do you just do it? It's like, but how do you go doing it? And I've found the easiest way to do it is to, okay, I'm doing this. I will be here and I'm going to do this. And you just have to do it. And it's not really the easiest thing to really pull off and do. But if you want to get on committees, you got to step out and say, hey, I'm going to be on this committee, and kind of force yourself into it. Mm-hmm. That's not really the easiest thing for everybody to step out and, get on board of. But
I definitely think that there's asking to get involved versus like forcing yourself to be involved are two different things. And it's kind of this, your business is the same way.
I found that asking doesn't work. You have to, I'm doing this. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And your business is the same way, right? Like you didn't start your business and then sit back and wait for phone calls to happen. Like you had to go knock on doors and, walk down actually put in effort to build relationships, find people that needed it, and say like, hey, look at me, I'm over here. Like, pay attention to me, hire me, right? Like we had to go and put in effort. So for as much as we want to like sit there and Ken brought up earlier, like pointing fingers and, it's one thing to look in from the outside and say, hey, you're broken, but we're not on the inside. Like people may look at our lives and look at our businesses and be like, wow, man, those guys are killing it. Dude, come step into my daily life. Call me. I'll tell you what's really going on. I have nothing to hide. I will tell you how much of a hot mess I am. All right. Once again, go back, listen to that 100th episode, man. My wife will let you know how much of a hot mess I am. All right. I got nothing to hide. Nothing. But it's always easy to point the finger, but then not make the effort to change. And I ain't gonna lie, like our trade organization's outdated. Yeah, dude, it's clickbait. Okay. Like I got an agenda here to like get people to listen to the show. I don't believe that myself, but I do want to have an honest conversation and see how different age groups and people feel about them. And I think if we're poised to be the next generation of old white guys taking over, because that's technically where it would go, what are we going to do different? How are we going to be involved? How are we going to stay connected, right? Like even within this group, we're talking about maybe they're not necessarily capable of being up to date with technology. Well, even within this group of people, Don had his, like, Don, I'm going to throw you under the bus. I'm sorry. Don's wife came in to set up the Zoom. Okay. He couldn't do it. He doesn't know how, he doesn't want to know how, he doesn't care. Like, and that's fine. And then you've got me setting up CNN live over here with, lights in the background and a camera into the computer with a separate feed into a different software. Like there's two distinctly different things going on here with where technology abilities lie. And even I admit I can't keep up, man. I couldn't turn on a speaker at my mother-in-law's over Christmas, and my son had to come out and like go through the 3 controllers, put 2 aside, pick one up, and hit the button and it magically turned on. I was just like, I can't deal with this. And I walked away. I felt very demasculated. Like, oh, just, it was not a good thing for my 12-year-old to be able to do that to me. But it matters, because how do we stay in touch, right? We work so long and we feel that we don't get to participate. And then we're poised to be the next generation. It's like, oh, here's our chance. Is that what's going on? Is this your chance to finally make the difference? And so you kind of you get hung up on what your agenda was versus what the agenda should be. So Derek, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's kind of loaded there. As far as what we would do, or the direction, if we had something to do, or basically what direction we think we would move.
Well, I mean, sure. Where do you want to see it go? But do you think that maybe it gets hung up on, you had a dream for years and years, and then you worked your way into a position to make that dream happen, that you're so focused on that dream that maybe that's the only thing you can see, as opposed to where the industry actually needs you to apply what should be happening?
That one's tough. Yeah, I don't know about that. Like, given being so, like I said, being so new to this, and being new to the trade organizations and how things are running, like, I see things that, I don't know. I see things that could be done differently. Mm-hmm. And that if someone like, say, myself or someone in the same age group was involved more once it gets to that point, how that could be beneficial, but without really, without seeing some kind of sample or some kind of direction where it's slightly moved that way to give it a basis of this is beneficial or this is not. Mm-hmm. Like, I kind of go back to the NWFA, and I see like speaking with other people who are hesitant to get involved with the industry or the organization. I see how there are few hangups, and it's very minimal. It's usually money and time. Mm-hmm. What I would do with that, or what I think could be done with that, is just a better explanation of where these are beneficial and where the cost that's involved and the time that's involved in being involved in the trade organizations, or either volunteering or serving on the board or committees. However, a better explanation, and it's almost like a better explanation even for myself a little bit, to kind of dive into it and see and evaluate the benefit of I guess getting more involved, because that's kind of the thing. I do know I want to be involved. Mostly I want to be involved just for educational purposes and helping someone like myself, where I came in and where I joined it and where I needed that assistance and that help to grow the business, to be a better quality contractor, and to learn that basically that was it for me. But a better explanation for other people of where this is beneficial, this is helping us, this is helping the industry out. And also just encouraging more people to be involved, other than encouraging just a membership that costs X amount of dollars a year,
Really push what the membership actually means. What are the benefits? What am I gaining out of it? And then yeah.
And for me, I see it just by jumping in and getting involved. I see that, but a lot of people don't.
Mm-hmm. No, I think participation is a huge factor of it. If you're not participating, then look, I mean, maybe none of us are qualified because none of us are participating on a high level. Maybe we should all shut our mouths, right? Like, who's to say we're qualified to even have this conversation? But once again, like, I just want to have the conversation. I want to get it started. Let's put it out there. Okay. Let's make this happen and see how people feel, where different age groups lie, where, you talked earlier about there's maybe one other guy within 200 miles of you that's NWFA certified. And I've gotten calls from being on the CFI registry, except it's for carpet every time because they can't read the homeowners can't read the registry correctly and see that I'm a hardwood and laminate certified, not carpet certified. Granted, they're definitely more well known for doing the carpet side of things. So like, I get it, but I've gotten phone calls by being listed. Is that a benefit of paying my money every year? Sure. It costs hardly anything, and they have a great mission. So I'm happy to support it with the minimal amount I have to chip in. I know the NWFA and the NTCA are a little bit more, but I also know that they have a ton of other benefits that are granted out to their members.
Yeah, and honestly, that's the thing. What I tell most guys is you have to at least dive into it. You have to participate, like you mentioned. Mm-hmm. Once you see that little bit of participation, and for me, just being such a short time, the assets that come along with it are just way outnumber any kind of cons, because just the networking that alone right there was probably the biggest thing for me. Just the networking. But I think there could be adjustment on how well it's explained to a lot of people, and that given said, having younger people, younger faces, people who aren't just involved in big companies, big organizations, like whether they're manufacturers pushing a big product, big numbers, shrink it down a little bit to a smaller guy, having people on a level where they can understand the smaller guy. And when it comes to like the trainers and instructors on any kind of certification classes you're taking or whatever, those guys are all pretty much down to earth, whether they're young, old, whatever, they're all down to earth. They've been in your shoes at some point in their life. But it's hard for a lot of people to see past the corporate BS, I think. Even though it's, a trade organization, it is hard for some people to see past that.
That I can agree with. I'm going to interrupt us here for just a second, and then I'll jump over to get your thoughts, Don. The International Surface Event, the annual flooring, stone, and tile sourcing experience in Las Vegas, has a unique experience for the industry. Introducing the Surfaces Show Home, Caliboo Vineyard by Jennifer Farrell. Surfaces is working with celebrity design and TV host Jennifer Farrell to develop a 7,300 square foot show home in California. The home is under construction, but due to technology from Visualizer Plus, the industry can experience virtual room reveals each month. Then plan to view Caliboo Vineyard in person or virtually summer 2022 during the home tours. Visit www.caliboovineyard.com now to sign up and join the journey. Keep paying attention to that. It's super cool what Jennifer Farrell is doing with the home. I also want to announce this 26-inch RTC tile cutter from RTC Trading or Russo Trading Company, available at tiletools.com, is up for grabs. Okay? You got to go to the Floor Academy Facebook page and find the post about that tool. You got to like it. You got to go over to, there's probably like a Tile Tools page. I got to work with Steve. I'll admit, I don't have all the things in detail. It'll be figured out. Go like the tiletools.com like Facebook page, because there probably is one. And then we're going to compare notes. And if you followed both steps and liked both things, we're going to put all those names in the hat of everyone that did what you were supposed to do. We'll pull one out and you win that 26-inch cutter, and we will get that sent off to you. So that's what you got to do to win that. Same thing as last month with that Better Tools tile cutter. And I appreciate the support from these companies and helping us get better tools and, new tools into people's hands so that they can better do what they need to do out in the field. All right, Don, what you got for me, buddy?
I think going forward, like getting more involved with committees and whatnot, and just trainings or whatever, trying to establish and make it accessible like a pattern, like a system. You start here, this is your next level, this is where you can start stepping in to help out with the trainings, what your expected roles are, how do you advance and move up the ladder from just being on a curriculum committee to being on the advisory board for CFI. For NFIC, how do you go to start? What are they looking for to be able to start being a trainer? is it something you need to be invited for? Is it something you need to express interest for? And if, what that process looks like, and just being able to make it more accessible so that it's not, I have to force myself into it. I don't know. I don't think we need to have to put ourselves out there so much to be able to just be involved beyond being a member and paying our dues every year. It's, if you're willing to put yourself out there and say, hey, I'm doing this, that's great. But it's very uninviting and very kind of unfriendly to have to do that. I know CFI's motto is if it's up to me, or if it's to be, it's up to me.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. That only goes so far. There's a lot of people that want to be involved, but they're not that forward with themselves. You have to really put yourself out there. And let's face it, a lot of these guys, they've got great reputations. They've got great names. And they're pretty intimidating, from the outside. When you get to know these guys, they're down to earth. They're willing to do anything and everything. They'll bend over backwards. They'll take time out of their schedule to help you if there's like if you get hurt or you're unable to keep up with the workload. They're willing to drop everything and travel halfway across the country to help you get this stuff sorted out and keep life moving around. But it's hard to see that from the outside until you really put yourself out and start getting to know them on a deeper level. And it's really hard to want to, without any structure, how do you step into this sort of stuff? So I'd like to see that as a little bit more of going forward, to be able to take it to the next level of growth and involvement, and start bringing in the younger people being involved in it. And, it was even 3 years ago where I moved, thankfully, from being one of the young guys to, not being the young guy anymore. And that's just because they brought in and started encouraging Brooks and Marquise and, a couple of the younger people that have kind of popped up to kind of be more involved in it. But I'm 41. I don't look 41, but I'm 41. We shouldn't be the young guys anymore, and there are younger guys out there, but we need to be able to encourage the younger guys to actually step up and not just be not be the unknowns.
Well, you bring up a good point in that it can, you didn't use these words, these are my words, that it's almost like there's like a fraternity culture, right? There's a good old boys club, and it can be intimidating to go and approach these groups when you see them around, because everyone's laughing and having a good time, and there's inside jokes, and you just got involved and it's your first show or it's your first certification or training, and you're just kind of like, it's intimidating. You can be really timid, just like standing back looking at all this and not know how to go. And not everyone wants to jump out and be like, hey, how you doing? It's just not everybody's personality. And what are you missing by not having a more welcoming environment? And not that they're not trying. I don't think all the time.
It's not really necessarily a welcoming environment. It's how do you get into that group? But in all honesty, like CFI, once you start talking to these people, to the guys, you're welcomed with open arms.
Correct. Just walk up.
To get involved in the committees and get involved in that stuff, that's really hard. But once you really start getting, talking, and even just going to the convention, be sitting at a bar and grabbing a beer with someone, you can have a conversation with just about anybody, and everyone's willing to talk with you. And they're willing to bring you into bring you in. It's just, how do you develop that into an actual involvement? But once you start getting in, you start finding out the little ins and outs, and it's a tough path. It's just it's making that step to be able to get involved, get into it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I know at the first convention I went to, I was very uncomfortable, and I'm not the most outgoing person, but I was very uncomfortable talking with everybody. And then all of a sudden, I went to convention, I met a few people, and then I went to surfaces, and everyone was like, "Hey, Don, how you doing?" Da, da, da. And like all of a sudden, everybody remembered me, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"I don't know who half these people are." And then the next convention, it was, I was brought in to, more people recognizing and knowing me and wanting to talk with me. And then all of a sudden, I'm hanging out with, Joe Sia and Dave Garden and Dwayne Pruitt and Kelly Huddleston, and they just on and on and on. It's like everybody in Rolland, just everybody all of a sudden starts bringing you in, and you start getting into these things. But developing those relationships into actually contributing on a committee level or on a higher level, that's the tricky part of it. How do you make that transition from a social and people respecting you to your professionalism to contributing something to the bigger group?
Okay. Ken?
What was the question?
I do, and
way to space out, Ken. Come on.
No, he's waited a long time. We interrupted with a commercial. It's hard. I mean, can we rewind? I can't even rewind. What are we looking at? Like,
what do you want to see? How do you want to see? Like, if you were involved more, like on the committees and
what do I want to see?
Yeah, like, how do you want to move it forward? If you could, right? Or like, what's the struggle with why they can't? I don't know. Like, what are you?
Well, you know what I mean. What's to say that that's the goal? I mean, I've already said that any involvement is better than none, and anything positive is obviously better than a negative. But with this recent increase in a social media presence over the past 5-6 years, we've really kind of taken that personal connection that the trade organizations try to have, and we have it immediately. I remember hearing stories about the CFI guys going around on the weekends and making impact with installers and doing trainings on the weekends, having conversations about CFI, and we kind of are spoiled now. We have the technology to do that immediately without leaving the couch. So to have an installer go through and get involved with a trade organization, well, it's a good thing. Are they going to see that immediate benefit like they would if they jump on Flooring Installers of America and say, "Hey, Don, I saw you did this Protect All job last week. I've got this one coming up next week. Can you, give me some pointers?" And Don's right there, or any of the other people that regularly contribute online. It's such this immediate answer. There's like a trade-off, and I kind of, because I get messages. I get messages all day long from people, with questions about anything from installation to marketing to business, this and that. And I'm always happy to answer. I'm always, right there, as long as it doesn't go into the spam folder, I'm going to answer it. I'm going to answer my phone. I'm going to answer my emails. So is that maybe more valuable to these younger guys that the trade organizations are trying to attract, but they're already kind of getting that value elsewhere?
So here's my take on that, right? Is anything that's just purely virtual, like, you're missing out on a lot of it. I think the trade organization factor.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
We still need to have a way to have to get together. And even though some of the, like, I have my smaller group for like Arizona flooring installers, and I'm trying to put together monthly meetings to get people in the area together, because I think there's a ton of value in actually meeting in person. But overall, I think the trade organizations need to be there in order to set standards, guidelines, systems, processes, and how to do it in a more professional manner. I think we need that. But
right, but I don't
are
know
we
that
missing
that
the
is
mark
what's-
of is the mark being missed because there's an easier way? Is there, is it, how do you advertise to a generation of people that can get it instantly faster and don't necessarily need you, even though they,
well, and that's
they
kind
do
of the
need
thing.
you?
It's where we have these organizations where, and it's great to go to coverings and surfaces and CFI and everything like that. And then that's where you really get that personal face-to-face connection. But for the everyday one-man show, brand new guy or girl starting their business, maybe they can't invest that money into going to surfaces and coverings, or joining a trade organization. So we've built this community, this online virtual community of immediate access to information. And, that's really become very valuable, more so than some would think, but especially to new business owners and new, personalities into the industry. There's definitely a middle ground. And again, the more involvement in the industry, the better. But I just don't know that the selling point is access to information. And because, we've got that access, it's immediate access.
Correct.
We've got that online.
But here's the deal, though. The guys that are answering those questions are the guys that are heavily involved with the organizations.
Yeah.
So I think that you can't make that point.
Why buy the milk? Why buy the cow when you're getting the milk for free? Is that a legitimate?
But I don't think it is, because in order to grow, you're going to have to get involved. I think it's made access to it easier. It's not just in a magazine that's put out occasionally to where you can see people, right? I remember getting my, I got my wood floor business and I got my hardwood floors magazine, and I can get my floor covering installer and pro installer, and I can get all these things sent to my house, and you read these articles and you see the names. But now I can just go on Facebook and the guy's right there. I can just ask him a question. I can go up to a trade show and be like, hey, how's it going? And they'll talk to you. They don't care. They just want to talk. We're all big flooring industry dorks, and we just want to talk about
passion
floors.
For the industry.
Yeah.
That's, if you have passion for the industry, then you're going to be involved regardless. But I mean, it's just interesting to see different levels of interaction and how they kind of play out with the different organizations, as far as attracting new blood to an organization specifically. I mean, NTCA really kind of has that down with the vouchers, for your $600 measurement for your $600 membership. You get $2,000 worth of vouchers, product vouchers for setting materials, for tile.
That's the worst sales pitch ever.
Right.
And they did the same thing.
Yeah.
It's enticing as a young business owner. That's how I got, pulled in, was, well, wait a minute. I'm getting $2,000 for my 600 and I'm getting all these resources. I'm going to sell these materials for more than I use 2 vouchers, and the membership is paid for. So, I mean, that's really, it's really gone a long way to increase their initial reach. But, as far as their initial exposure to new members, I mean, I understand that I'm partial as, one of the admins for Flooring Installers of America, but there are things that new people to the industry wouldn't know about if it wasn't for that group. We just saw a CFI class out in Cali that it was expressed interest specifically in Flooring Installers of America. There are different things that have gone on, different things that, I had no idea that was available. I had no idea this, specifically because of groups like Flooring Installers of America.
No, I mean, I've definitely seen a couple classes come out of people talking in there and chatting and, getting the right people involved to make it happen. And so are they missing the boat on technology by not having a better presence there, right? Maybe that's the thing. Is that the evolution? Is that it's let's get more involved in the social media space? Because even for me, if the benefit is that a homeowner can find me on one of these websites with the like find a installer tool, whether it's CTI or the, you know, NFIC has it and CFI has it and NWFA has it, right? You can find a certified pro on like any of the websites. However, how's a homeowner supposed to know to find you? Because
how does the homeowner know what that is?
That one I started harping on the first services I went to after the recession started easing up from '08. I went into a seminar and there was a panel of there was the CFI, NWFA, CTI, you know, there's just a bunch of, you know, trade groups, and that's one of the things because they were kept talking about that, you know, they were trying to promote certified guys, and I was like, okay, well, how are you promoting it to homeowners? How do they know about these things? And honestly, every single one of them just kind of sloughed the question off and ignored it. Mm-hmm. And that's true. How are our organizations promoting it and, you know, advertising it out there? And they're not. And
they're not. The members are. It's the members that have taken the test, that have joined. We're doing the marketing for the organizations. They're not doing it.
But they should be doing more of it. And that is my big frustration with the professional organizations. And, you know, that's across the board in all of them. You know, I'm not involved in any of the ceramic tile organizations. That's not my thing at all. But, you know, when with NWFA and with CFI, the WFCA, nobody is promoting these advanced skills, these advanced trainings, organizations, certifications to the public. And that's a big thing that needs to be happening so that so that the general public knows that, you know, there are qualified, trained guys out there, and it's not just some guy that they, you know, bought their carpet from and then they picked up some guy outside of Home Depot and here you go. You know, there is actually standards, and there's a level of professionalism that needs to be addressed out there.
Well, do homeowners consider flooring a skilled trade? Is that why it's okay that any, you know, chuck in a truck can do it? Or is it what separates plumbing and electrical to need like international standards and like country standards and local standards and all this stuff, and you have to be licensed and certified for that anywhere you go in this country? But then you can just go and like, I can go buy a chop saw and call myself a flooring installer and start going to town.
Yeah.
Why? So do we need to do a better job of do we need the trade organizations to better police the industry, and us as the members of them have to do a better job of showing the benefits of being involved and convincing other people why they should be involved? Is it on us or is it on them?
I think the trade organizations themselves have to do a better job of promoting themselves. I mean, we as the members do a great job of promoting ourselves. I get a number of jobs from being on the CFI website and the NFIC website. And because of that, I'm able to charge significantly more than if I was able to, or if somebody just found me walking through a Home Depot and I've got a business shirt on, or through, you know, one of the retailers I work with. It's because at that point, I'm on a website that says I've been trained, I've been certified by some organization with a set of standards. And I'm not the one saying, hey, I've got this set of skills. That guy over there, someone else says that guy has that set of skills. Mm-hmm. And so it allows us to promote ourselves and say, hey, we've got these skills, these abilities that are above and beyond what, you know, the normal guy out there with the rusted truck is able to provide.
Well, that's the hard thing, though, is because I know guys that aren't certified that will do excellent work, and I know certified guys that do horrible work. It's so. How do we?
It's a marketing tool. It's a promotional thing, but they need to be able to we need to not be the ones out there promoting it. They need to be out there promoting it. They need to be buying the ads. In Connecticut, I hear all the time about the local carpentry unions they're on the radio, and they're talking about union flooring guys.
Yeah, I totally agree with that too, because I get tons of marketing advertisements email me every single day or through social media from the trade organizations promoting a certain product, whether it's from a manufacturer or whatever, because, well, they're getting paid from the manufacturer. They know that the members are going to pay attention to these advertisements and buy their product, however. But on the same aspect, could you use that same marketing tactic to invite more contractors in, or to educate the homeowner or the end user that these are the people you want to hire? Could you designate just as much or some of your advertisements and market it or direct it at the end user? Also, bringing up the craft, bringing up the trade, elevating it to where everybody will. I'm not going to say I'm for every single person that does anything needs to be 100% certified. I think there's a lot of different areas there because there's so much avenues. I know some people may disagree with me. I don't necessarily think that it's a necessity because some people starting out on their business doesn't have enough money to go ahead and join the trade organizations, get all their certifications just to be able to go to the job, make money, and put food on the table. But I do think that a certain aspect of marketing and directing this to owners and end users, that these are the professionals that you'd like to hire. And at the same point, like Don said, it could invite a lot of young people that are getting started in the trade to become and to get involved in these organizations so they can be educated and certified, however, to do better craft. I mean, 90% of my work down here is fixing a poor installation or a poor sand and finish job. I mean, it's horrifying. I have focused on getting more involved with the NWFA just for the fact of trying to get these contractors better educated, do better quality work, and not have so much of this nightmare. I know it's job security for me, but I still hate it. I mean, we all hate going on that job where some hack has just botched it, even though we're charging the customer twice to do it, I think that part of that marketing effort could be done in a better way to advertise the organization to people outside of the organization.
Ken, any thoughts?
No, I mean, I agree wholeheartedly. I get so stuck on, minor details. And I just think that maybe sometimes I overthink the, the level of importance of some of it,
Well, I think that kind of goes back to, I was talking before, and we don't see the inner workings. So we're hung up on details that we see, but we don't see the whole big picture of everything they're dealing with. And if we were maybe more involved, then if we could see that inner picture, then would we then have the same complaints? Maybe there's not the budget to do it, right? Maybe those manufacturers are paying for a bunch of advertising and money in, and it's being spent really wisely. I don't know. I don't have the budget. It's the trade organization is a business just like us. And how many of us have businesses that are not necessarily run top notch? If we were so great, wouldn't we have 15 crews? Not everybody wants that. I get that. But if we were so good, could we not then grow it and expand it and have the systems and processes in place? So,
there's always room for improvement,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, yes. It's not that they can't grow and evolve, and maybe that's the thing, is that it's not. Once again, I don't believe they're truly outdated. Does there maybe need to be some growth and evolution? Probably, but then where does that come from? So we can sit here and complain about it and we can have this conversation, but then what are we going to go do about it? And it's not just you three here with me. Everyone listening to this, that will listen to this, that is out there in the Facebook community groups or that you interact with when you go to a supply shop. If you're truly passionate about this trade, is it not your responsibility then to get somebody else to be as passionate as you and help push it forward in a positive light? I think so.
Well, you can be passionate about the industry and be involved in the industry without even being a part of the trade organizations. You know, there are different levels of involvement, and the bottom line is, you, at the end of the day, you need to be happy with yourself and what you're putting out into the world. And if what makes me happy and what makes me whole is helping others in the industry simply by, admitting the online community, answering questions, talking to new installers, if that's what does it for me, that's okay, Well,
and I don't think when I'm saying being involved, I don't necessarily mean getting on the boards or any, like, I think being a member is involved enough, but that's because you're keeping up with your industry by being a part of it. I think by not participating on that higher level, you're not necessarily going to know about changes and where technology is going. Like, how many people don't have any idea what kind of technology changes have happened in adhesives or mortars or tools, and they're out there, right? So
have that knowledge either. Like, do the trade organizations really know, or do we have better information coming from our personal relationships with the reps from these manufacturers?
But that's getting involved, and I don't think it all goes hand in hand to me, right? Because I didn't know there was product reps until I got more involved. Mm-hmm. And so if you want to be chucking a truck and you're just going to go like slap up some shower or throw down some floor willy-nilly, you probably don't have any interest in doing it. So how do you find that guy and inspire him? How does the trade organization reach that guy? Or how do we as members of the trade organization reach that guy and get them motivated to join? What's the message that needs to change? And I think that's what it is it's not that they don't want to do that now, but if we're looking to reach a younger generation, I don't think that message is being necessarily portrayed correctly currently.
Well, there needs to be more marketing put into getting out there. I kind of feel like the current marketing is geared towards the members, and that's not where it should be geared towards, because you've already got us. It needs to be geared towards new members and homeowners and the industry as a whole outside of our little cliques,
Mm-hmm. There you go. Don, any thoughts?
No, I agree. The marketing does need to be more directed, not necessarily to new members. I think within like the CFI organization, I don't know how it is with NWFA and CFI or CTI, but we do a very good job of trying to promote within the groups, of trying to get people to go get the certifications and be involved with the organization on that level. I think there needs to be more promotion with towards homeowners, to even retailers. The number of retailers that don't even know what a CTI or the CFI is. They know roughly what the WFCA is. I worked with one retailer who kept telling me he was a member of the WFCA and offering to let me use his scholarship when they offered it. And he was confusing it with another organization, the Regional Floor Covering Association, not the WFCA. But they know NWFA. Just about everybody knows NWFA. But CFI, CTI, not everybody knows that. So even when I go to talk with new retailers about what I'm doing and who I'm involved with, they don't know what CFI is. They don't know what NFIC is. They need to do a better job of marketing to the industry itself, beyond just the manufacturers, beyond WFCA, beyond just the installers that have already done it. They need to advertise to the bigger organization, to the boots on the ground, so to say, retailers, and then to the homeowners. They need to reach out. They need to be in, I don't even know what home improvement magazines there are, but they need to be on the home improvement magazines. They need to be advertising on, as much as I hate it, HGTV. They need to be promoting to more people than just those in the industry, so that it can be something recognized. Everybody knows that to be an electrician or a plumber, you have to be licensed and certified by the states and blah, 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 blah. But they've spent so much time in the past getting that sort of recognition that they don't have to continue to advertise for that. They don't have to continue advocating for it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now we kind of, as the flooring professionals, need to, and the organizations need to step up and start promoting that there is something beyond just a guy with truck and a truck out there, doing this stuff. So I think they do need to start dedicating a little bit more of their marketing budget towards promoting what's available.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay. Derek, any last kind of thoughts here?
No, I totally agree right there with what Don said. That's kind of where I was leaning towards. Those are good suggestions as far as the marketing and reaching different people to know that there is standards out there. There is guidelines, and there is organizations that somewhat govern whatever particular aspect of floor covering there is, and the installers. I do kind of take it a step further, kind of, also backtracking to getting more people involved. I've seen just, like Kent mentioned, that we have the online groups, we have everything, we have social media, all of the answers to any questions that we kind of have. If somebody who's not involved in the trade organization, it's pretty easy to get. Just like Ken, I answer messages, calls, emails every day from people. But I think, though, that when you do get involved, you do participate, whether it be on just as a member or training or whatnot, or even on a higher scale going up to committees and boards, you kind of get a little bit of a high from helping ones out. And once you're in that position of just your face is more recognized, you're either recognized through social media groups or social media pages or whatnot. But then once you step into being more active within the trade organization, it opens up a broader scale of people that will, reach out to you. And, like that high, you get so excited with helping one person out, and you're not realizing you're helping multiple people out, and you're just geared at making sure everyone is successful. And, that's why that's me personally, why I want to get as involved as I can with the NWFA and the organization, to be one of those people. But also I want to encourage more people, not just to the fact of that they're following these standards, and that we're all just growing and improving together, but also it helps open up more opportunities for more people to get involved too, because that's really what's going to promote the industry, is more people getting involved, and promoting the industry that way is also kind of killing another bird with the same stone too. Is we have this huge crisis, this installation crisis. We have all these things, but if these trade organizations did, market better to the end users and the homeowners, it's going to promote more activity within the organization, more members, more people getting involved with it, because it's kind of getting into a necessity. And slowly it has grown out of that necessity because of other things, because of the times changed. And, we have social media. It has kind of gotten away where it's not near as a necessity now, especially with how much work is going on. Everybody has work. So it's not they don't see the benefits of it. But I think taking all of those things together will definitely help promote the organizations, promote the trade and the industry, but bring more people in, and it could help out with the insulation crisis that we're all facing.
Okay. So look, what's the answer to the question? Are trade organizations outdated? No, they're not. Is there an evolution that needs to happen? Is there, younger people that maybe need to step up and get involved and help shine some light on areas that they'd like to see it move in a different direction? Sure. Can we do that without participating directly in a trade organization and just caring about our industry and trying to work with other locals in our area? Yes. Is it a combination of trying to accomplish all of these things? That's probably more realistic. I think that trade organizations definitely have a place. They bring a lot of value to the table in being able to help their members succeed and give them the resources they need to run a more professional business, to be able to find the answers they need, especially when you have the organization setting industry guidelines of how installation should happen so that you can be as successful as possible and limit your liability. That's something that I want to help participate in and promote, because honestly, I've already taken everything I own and put it out on the table to run a business. I'm saying that I guarantee that I can go out and continue to find myself work and make a living doing this. But if something fails, that's coming out of my pocket, and I'd like to limit my liability as much as possible. And no one else is helping me do that besides some of these trade organizations that set these guidelines. So why would I not want to be involved and give feedback on what I see as issues with those? However, sometimes it feels like it's hard to get involved. So maybe you need to force your way in. Maybe we need to, maybe a new one needs to be made. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have the answer, but I want to encourage people to go out and find what you feel is going to help make you a better professional. Because just showing up with a magnet on the side of your truck and not knowing what you're doing, like, you're not a professional. You're not, and you're not going to deliver the experience that people need. And that's why you can go on any group any day of the week and people are complaining about chucking a truck charging $1 a square foot and they're losing the bid to him. Well, you're after the wrong client, but 2, you're presenting what you offer wrong. So you can change what clients are looking for when you go and participate in the industry organization to find a way to get them to help promote to homeowners that this thing exists so that the bar is raised. And as you force the community to become more successful, you're going to raise the bar overall. Homeowners accept all kinds of garbage work now because of the national home builders. They're done so quick. There's no care. Tile lippage is acceptable. Your home not being square is acceptable. You're allowed to see seams and drywall. It's just what people accept as okay workmanship is absolutely absurd. And so is it, where'd that breakdown happen? Was it on us as the owners and installers in the field not taking pride and showing that pride to the next generation that was going to do it? Or is that part of it and some of it is how the trade organizations haven't promoted well enough? I don't know. So the question's not easily answered, I think. There's change that needs to happen, but we already knew that. So are you going to be part of that change? Or are you going to keep complaining about it from your keyboard? Because if you're just going to complain about it from your keyboard, shut up. Just shut up. No one wants to hear you. You're not doing anything. You're not adding anything to the table by doing that. Gentlemen, anything else? No, they just shake their head at me. They can't even respond. They're just quiet. That makes for a great audio. This is an audio format.
I think it's all been covered, fairly nicely. There's issues, but for the most part, it's all stuff that's manageable. It's looking forward and getting more involved to make the changes that we want to see happen to help move the industry forward. You know, between professionalism and standards, and just encouraging people that it's a good industry. I had a conversation with a guy who started working with me a couple of months ago that, if I was smart back when I was growing up, my dad kept telling me, no, you're not going to be in flooring, you're not going to be in flooring. I never would have been in flooring. But at the same time, being in flooring is one of the best things I've ever done. I couldn't possibly imagine making the money and doing what I do because of what I do for a living without being in flooring. I'm not able to really set my schedule, but I'm able to enjoy life and do things that I never would have imagined or never would have had the money to do. So we need to be able to encourage and show, the next generation and the homeowners that this is actually, or the larger world, that this is a great industry to be in. And the best way we can do that is with the support and of the trade organizations, because let's face it, I've got a small marketing budget, but if 100,000 people with small marketing budgets are all grouped together, that's a good marketing budget. You can reach a lot of people with that.
Definitely.
When it's very easy to criticize, from behind a keyboard, behind a screen, but at the end of the day, we really need to, it sounds cliche, and I know I've said it before, but be the change you want to see in the industry.
Well, I mean, Don mentioned it earlier. I mean, Jane Walker was always telling people, if it's to be, it's up to me. That's what I'm saying. Go get involved. Like, if you want it to be different, stop complaining about it from your keyboard. And I've seen plenty of nonsense in this past week in some of the online groups of the keyboard warriors going off and a bunch of nonsense developing in them and all the drama from it. Just go make the difference you want to make. If it's a great, if it's meant to happen, you getting more involved in making that agenda happen is going to happen. If it's worthy enough, it'll happen. Maybe you learned you're wrong. Maybe you learn you're wrong, and you get inspired by something else along the way that's a better goal.
Yeah, but and I think too. Sorry, Kyle.
No, you're good.
I was just saying. I think too, like a lot of these people that are involved, even higher up than any four of us in the trade organizations, are active on social media, on the groups, or accessible in some way, shape, or form. So if you do have a complaint, it seems like four of us have little complaints, but no matter what, we realize that there's the asset in being involved. And, personally, I've never changed it. I'm always going to be a member. I'm always going to be involved because I do see the benefits to it. But it's so easy to access anybody that's involved in these trade organizations, whether through an email or whatever. So if there is a question you have, or you don't understand why things are moving in the way they are, yes, you can participate, or you could just send a quick email too. Say, hey, I don't understand why we're doing this. This is the reason that's holding me up from getting more involved. At the last class I was having at the NWFA headquarters, we were sitting around dinner, and I just relayed a couple experiences from a few people that I've talked to about their qualms with the organization, the trade organization. And within the next morning, two of the guys, the instructors, came right up to me and said, "Hey, I'm glad that you mentioned that to us, because I feel that is an issue that needs to be addressed." And man, I was like, so they are listening. There's people out there listening. So if there is an actual complaint, then just reach out, send an email, make a phone call.
I agree. Look, you're not going to get what you don't ask for. I say that all the time, right? Like, I'll haggle. I don't hate when homeowners haggle with me, but I can appreciate it. And my answer is no, because I know where I need to be at. But that doesn't stop me from going places and haggling. My wife got some car work done recently, and it ended up with having 1 penny. It was like $4,000 in a penny. And I was like, I'll do it for 4,000 even. And the guy was like, if we had some shop supplies on there, I could get rid of the penny, but we don't, so I can't. And I was like, whatever. But I just wanted to do it. Can I get rid of the penny? Can I do it? Like, you're not going to get what you don't ask for. Go. If you want to see something changed, then you need to go do it. Once again, sitting back and complaining about it isn't going to get it changed. So does this start the discussion? Yes. And the ultimate goal of this discussion is that CFI is having Robert Vardin is stepping down. Someone else is going to step up into his shoes. They haven't made the announcement of who yet. I don't know. Don't ask me. I don't think anybody on this call knows. And I would like to get that, whoever that new person is, I would like to get Michael Martin and I would like to get Bart Bettiga on the line and have them all sit down and listen to the hours of content that are produced by doing the multiple interviews on this and then have the discussion with them. I'm not doing this to like let people vent and have a bad time. I want to open up the lines of communication. That's the point of what's going on here is let's converse, because I don't know that it's always happening or people think it's as easy as it is. But when I went to originally talk about what these organizations offer, all of those guys were readily accessible and willing to talk about what the organization brings to the table. All of them would have gladly jumped on the mic and done it if they haven't already. So it's not hard to go get involved and get the answers you want. If something frustrates you about the organization, ask the questions, get the answers, and maybe you don't agree with it. Maybe it's not going to be a good fit. That's fine. But is there something else you can do with the pride you have and the professionalism you have to go and move this industry forward in a positive light in your local area? I don't know. That's for you to figure out. But I think if a lot of the problems I see with this industry are from people that don't take pride in what they do. They just want to show up and collect a check because they have a set of skills. And I think it's going to take a lot of guys with a lot of pride in what they do to inspire the next generation to come in with pride and actually truly love what they do. And we have to get rid of a lot of these guys that are giving it a bad name by just showing up and being grumpy all the time. All right.
I'm grumpy sometimes.
Oh, I'm really grumpy sometimes, but there needs to be changes. We've got to be able to inspire people to love what they do. And there's no reason not to love what you do when you're in this industry. Like, you're changing somebody's home or you're building a commercial structure that people get to enjoy themselves in. And while you may not think that the floor you're putting in matters, go look at like a commercial building that's like one of these box store superstores that has the horrible vinyl install in it, right? Like, and you get mad because it's stair-stepped and it looks absolutely horrendous. If somebody would have taken a little more care to do it and it looked good, I think more people would subconsciously appreciate it. But also look at how much wear and tear that thing takes. It's got to be done well, and you've got to be able to appreciate that. Once again, it's like a subconscious thing. I don't think anyone realizes what this industry really brings to the table when something lasts a long time, or they just recently discovered some crazy mosaics that are hundreds of years old. Man, they're not popping up. Like, those things are down. They're installed really well. Somebody truly cared about what they were doing, and now we can look at it and appreciate it hundreds of years later. If everyone put in that kind of care to their project, what would that do for our industry? Homeowners realize that you come in passionately doing what you do. And they're going to notice the guy that comes in and just angrily gets it done for the day so we can go home and pick up his pack of smokes and his 12-pack of beer and pound it down and show back up the next day. And look, there's nothing wrong with smoking and there's nothing wrong with drinking some beer. We're going to talk stereotypical here, okay? I apologize. Like, I'm not trying to insult anybody, but be better. Just be better. And I'm going to leave it there. Thank you, gentlemen. I truly appreciate you all joining me on this. I think it's important to have the conversation, get it started, see where it goes, and who we can get involved with it. Visit flooracademypod.com. Check out the shop. You can get a really cool t-shirt like in the background. Tiletools.com. Find their Facebook page. Go like the post about the cutter. Join the Floor Academy Facebook group. Like the post about the cutter. You'll get entered to win it. What else we got? Help the show. Patreon.com/Floor Academy. Even $5 a month goes a long way to helping the content to continue to be created. I appreciate all the support from the backers that I currently have over there. Check out Surfaces coming up in January. It's going to be a amazing time as always. It gets you out there. It lets you go connect with other truly passionate professionals. And that's what we're talking about here. So anybody that's willing to invest money and time into an event that lets them, or like has to have them shut down their business as a smaller guy with no teams out there doing anything for me, the business stops. I'm losing money and spending money to go. So then it just compounds. I have not found it worthwhile yet. There's something that I learn and take away from it every year that I can apply to my business when I get back and move my company forward. So go get involved with the events. Otherwise, you know what? I think that does it. And we will catch you next week. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you.